Hi everyone, welcome to the Business History channel. I'm Kiron Kasbekar and today I'm going to talk about the history of containerization, the system that revolutionized the way in which things are transported around the world, across oceans and by rail and road. Think of the world a few thousand years ago when people of different regions began trading with one another. They didn't have the technologies we have today. But can you imagine their being able to trade without using some form or other of a repository, amphorae, bags, barrels, bundles, drums, sacks, tubs, or other small and big forms of storage of varying sizes to transport goods over long distances? Without such means, transporting goods across countries and from one country to another would have been next to impossible. So the means I described a little earlier were the means by which goods would be transported across long distances over land and sea. Then, a little over 65 years ago, a new form of storage came into being, called containerization, along with what is known as multimodal transport. And this form has steadily pushed out the other means in global trading. Today, an estimated 90% of the world's goods are transported by sea, and about 60% of them are transported in containers. The long list of things transported in containers includes fresh and canned foodstuffs, electronics goods, domestic appliances, smartphones, virtually everything that is moved across oceans. What doesn't go in containers? The answer is mainly bulk commodities, which means stuff like grains, iron ore, petroleum, etc. But that is the only way these things can be moved in very large bulk spaces like tankers and holds. So what is containerization? Let me explain. Back in the 1950s, if someone said the word containerization, most people would have thought that she was referring to the packing of tea, coffee, chocolates or biscuits in a tin container, or milk, wine or medicine in a bottle. This may sound odd to us now, but in those days, many consumer products used to be packed in tin or glass containers. In developing countries like India, most products would be scooped out of larger containers, bins, in which shops stored them, weighed by the pound or kilo on weighing machines, and then packed in paper bags or in cloth bags that their customers brought with them. Less and less people now buy stuff loose, so the question of weighing on scales does not arise. The packs or bottles have the weights printed on them. Tins have more or less completely lost out to laminated paper and plastic. Glass is also used less and less. The word containerize began to be used only about 70 years ago, but it didn't start out with the meaning to put in a tin of tea, coffee, chocolate or biscuits or in a carton of milk or a bottle of wine. Nobody ever visited a shop and said, "Please containerize my tea" or "Give me a container of tea." They'd say, "Please give me a kilo of tea" or "Please give me a box of tea" or a tin of biscuits or a bottle of milk. The word containerization meant from the beginning, which was sometime around 1956, the stuffing of big steel cases with goods, usually an assortment of packages of things to be transported to a common destination. So the word container acquired a new meaning in the world of shipping. And the word containerization, which was in fact a new word, clearly and specifically meant one thing: shipping stuff in big steel cases called containers. The containers we are talking about are big standardized steel boxes of certain standard sizes with the fittings required for them to be secured and fitted alongside or on top of one another on a ship's deck, or to be stacked high at the docks before they are sent on their way across oceans to other ports or to inland destinations on trucks specially designed to carry such containers. Before we embark on a trip to explain the basics of containerization, let me show you a photograph of what a modern shipping container looks like. You must of course have seen containers like this on the roads in your city or on the highways, but you may or may not have known what they are called. If you have ventured near a port, you may have witnessed a scene like this. If you ventured closer, you would have seen what the container really looks like. And if you happen to be in a helicopter, you might have seen a spectacle like this at the dockyard. Oh, I love this picture. Considering how the scene has been lit up by the setting sun and how the photographer has framed the shot, you could frame this picture up as a piece of art. So how did the story of containerization unfold? This is how. The first container journey began on 26th April 1956 when a ship called the Ideal X left the port of Newark in New Jersey on the east coast of America and reached Port Houston, Texas in the south 5 days later. It was a great event for the shipping business, but not appreciated by everyone who watched it happen. As the container-laden ship left port, Freddie Fields, a top official of the International Longshoremen's Association, the Port Workers Union, was asked his opinion about the ship. Fields' reply says it all. "I'd like to sink that son of a bitch." I'm not sure whether Freddie was referring to the ship or the man who launched it, Malcolm McLean. Neither of them sank. McLean flew to Houston to be on hand when the ship safely docked there. Malcolm McLean? Where did this McLean come from? Not from any marine background. He was a trucking magnate with no previous experience with ships. But he was a man brimming with inventive ideas. McLean and his sister Clara McLean and brother Jim McLean had founded their family trucking business in 1934, which they called the McLean Trucking Company. McLean Trucking was based in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, known for the Winston-Salem cigarette brand, and started its business hauling empty tobacco barrels. Malcolm was one of the first drivers. Soon, McLean expanded his business by acquiring more trucks and hiring drivers to drive them. By the 1960s, McLean Trucking was the fifth largest trucking company in the US. Malcolm's hard-nosed business approach was what got the company there. Most other businessmen would have been content with such success, but not McLean. He saw far bigger prospects in the business of transporting goods on the sea. He just needed to do something that would give him an edge over established marine shipping companies. And somewhere in the course of his thinking about it, he hit the aha moment. What he would do, he decided, was to load and carry goods differently. Differently how? He thought he would drive entire trucks or fully loaded trailers onto the ship he acquired, the SS Ideal X, and thus save the time spent on unloading all shapes and sizes of cargo from the truck, carrying it across the dock to the wharf, carrying it on gangplanks to the deck and down to the ship's hold, sometimes with the help of cranes and sometimes without the cranes with manual labor. And that's how McLean launched his shipping business. He drove entire trucks onto the ship's deck. Having seen the successful launch of the SS Ideal X, McLean started buying ships just as he bought more trucks in his entrepreneurial past. I wonder if McLean was inspired with the roll-on, roll-off concept in shipping, which originated as early as in the 1840s. That method was not used for trucks. Trucks, or cars for that matter, had not been invented yet. They were used for railway trains. Railway trains would be loaded on trains and taken off at the destination point. What I'd like you to note here is that McLean was a man who drove and managed a fleet of trucks on land. He had no experience related to ships or shipbuilding. What he had was plenty of common sense. He did understand that if different transportation modes could be integrated, the high cost of shifting freight from land to sea and back again could be cut substantially. Where Malcolm McLean had the inspiration and the dream, another man helped him convert that dream into reality. His name was Keith Walton Tantlinger. 6 years younger than McLean, Tantlinger was a mechanical engineer and inventor with a degree in mechanical engineering from the University of California at Berkeley. During the Second World War, he worked to design tools used to produce the B-17 bomber for the Douglas Aircraft Company, which became McDonnell Douglas in 1967. So let's come back to McLean's idea about rolling entire trailer trucks loaded with containers on board a ship. What seemed the easiest thing to do turned out to be cumbersome and uneconomic. The reason was the trailers. Not only were they an avoidable deadweight, they also prevented full use of the decks, let alone the holds. Imagine lowering an entire trailer truck onto a ship's deck or into its hold below deck. It was Tantlinger who persuaded McLean that shipping containers should be designed to be separated from a chassis and with strong corner posts and structures so they could be stacked one on top of another. As happens in situations like this, the answer was actually quite obvious and brought huge benefits. The answer was to have cranes lift the containers from the truck's trailers, swing them across to the deck of the ship, and stack them there or in the hold below the deck. The empty trucks could then return, hopefully loaded with incoming containers from other ships, so that they could earn revenue once again. The result was a steep drop in the cost of freight from sometimes as high as 25% of the price of a product to a tiny fraction of that. What was sad about the containerization revolution was, as Freddie Fields, the trade union leader, condemned hotly, the displacement of workers by a mechanical method. But that was what progress was. Having assimilated this concept, McLean introduced the gateway ships. These ships were a significant improvement on the Ideal X. On Ideal X, each container had to be individually lashed to the deck, which took time. In contrast, with the Gateway City, the deck was 3 meters wider and designed to allow containers on deck and in the holds to be stored one on top of the other with the help of cell guides. That's the reason the Gateway City is considered the first ship that represented this principle, the principle of containerization. This revolutionary method is still used today. Gateway City would run scheduled services between the East Coast ports of the United States. McLean launched the service on 4th October 1957, the same day the Russian satellite Sputnik 1 took off. What was so interesting about Sputnik 1? It was the first vehicle to be launched into space from the Earth. 5 other similar vessels were converted the same way as Gateway City, and these 6 ships formed the Sea-Land C2C class, which enabled McLean to expand his services to Puerto Rico in 1958 and then to many other areas. Curiously, the first Puerto Rico voyage was a flop because of dock workers' refusal to offload the ship. But McLean took that loss in his stride. It was a pawn sacrifice in chess to make a successful attack on the king. The service quickly succeeded. The service remained until 1978 when the ships were sold for demolition. Containerization made a big difference to shipping. Earlier, most cargoes were loaded and unloaded by hand by longshore workers or dock workers. In the mid-1950s, manually loading a ship cost $5.86 a ton. Containers brought that cost down to just 16 cents a ton to load a ship. That was a huge 36-fold saving. This saving in money was accompanied by a big saving in time. With containerization, ships could be loaded and unloaded very fast. That reduced the turnaround time of the ships and the port charges. This was what management gurus would have seen McLean's achievement as an example of lean management, for it avoided certain steps in the shipping process without affecting quality and actually making a big saving in time and other costs. This became amply clear from McLean's assertion that a ship earns money only when she is at sea. While a ship is hanging around in a port, waiting to get its turn to get a berth, and then to have the cargo unloaded and new cargo loaded for other destinations, it is not earning any revenue. The sooner a ship can turn around and get on its way to other destinations or back to its home port, the better it is for its utilization of the capital invested. And that's what containerization helped companies to do. Now, did this invention bring an immediate bonanza for the shipping industry? It did not. And I'm sure you can guess the reason for that. The growth of containerization was not as rapid as it could have been, simply because in many places the port infrastructure was not ready for it. Container handling infrastructure such as container bridges and other handling equipment took time to be installed. So for many years the container ships had to make do with gantry trains on deck, and that process was far more cumbersome than what we have today. Modern container vessels do not need gantry trains. Why? Because all the required cranes are present onshore. Carrying cargo in containers began to be seen as an alternative to moving loose cargo in boxes, sacks and stuff of all shapes and sizes dumped in the hold, where a substantial amount of time was spent sorting the cargo destination-wise. With containerization, everything going to a particular destination is stuffed into one or more common containers marked for that destination. And since they are marked and catalogued, they can be unloaded and separated quickly at the destination port, loaded on container trucks and sent on their way to their inland destinations. On board, instead of the cargo being dumped in cavernous holds, the containers stacked one on top of another on the deck of the ships and are removed container by container and sent onward to their inland destinations in container trucks, which are basically flatbed trucks on which containers are lowered and secured with their preset attachments and sent off. The modern cranes at container ports are designed to pick and drop containers with great accuracy and speed. The difference between the old method of lading cargo in a ship's hold And the new method of stacking containers on the deck is similar in its effect to the difference between how grocers in the past weighed and packed loose products and you're picking up pre-packaged stuff from the shop of supermarket shelves. Not only is manual labor not needed to pack the material on the spot, but buyers can wander through the aisles checking out what's there, checking the prices, examining new products or brands they haven't seen before, and so on. There is no need to ask a salesperson about these things. The packages have, or are certainly supposed to have, all the product and price information printed on them. Containerization works more or less like that. Entire containers are lifted into a ship's hold or taken out, and someone sitting some distance away can track on their computer screens what is going in or out. Today, over 60% of cargo carried by ships is carried in containers. But it's not just ships that carry the cargo this way. The trucks and trains that carry goods to and from ports also do so in containers. But that is the subject of yet another video. So keep tuned in to this channel for that and other stories taken out of the pages of business history. I hope you like this video. I shall soon upload yet another story on some other aspect of containerization. I hope you will watch it. So do visit us again and tell your friends and colleagues too. And if you have not already subscribed to the Business History channel, please do so, for then you will be alerted every time we upload a new video here. Do also visit our website bh.domain-b.com to get a lot more content on business history, including lists of books and book reviews, people, some fun tidbits, and a business history quiz. From there, you will also get access to a wide range of business news and other content on InforMachine, the web-based business intelligence and knowledge management system that finds, tracks, and downloads relevant news from your selected sources, saving you hours of grind and toil. It's free of cost. The product links are given below in the description to the video. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you with our next video. Until then, goodbye.